Instrument on, and the power is on the side, this rocker switch, and you flip it forward, you hear a beep. So the next thing is to get the computer and the instrument talking. So this desktop here, I'm going to open the administrator, user, no password required. Then from the Windows home screen, we're looking for the software called UV Probe 2.10. There's this icon here. So I'll just double click that to start the program. I'm going to click on Connect or Connect Instrument. And then it's going to go through a relatively large number of initialization steps, and this will take a couple of minutes. So when the initialization is complete, you'll have all green and the OK to acknowledge that. That step takes several minutes, so it's usually a good idea, if you remember, to come down, turn on the instrument, and then go back to the lab and finish up sample prep. If you wait till you're ready to do measurements to turn the instrument on and connect it, you're going to be sitting around for 5 minutes with nothing to do. So as we do with a lot of glassware, it's good to rinse this glassware with what you're going to use. And so whether this was wet with distilled water or a previous sample, you're okay in filling the cuvette and emptying it, maybe twice. Now any residue left behind is the same as the sample we're about to measure. So do that one more time. And then we can gently, with the cuvette, wipe off the clear sides. Notice we're holding the cloudy sides, the clear sides is what the light goes through. Just wipe off any moisture off of those. And we can place it in the cuvette holder. The light is going from left to right, so my clear sides are going to be facing left and right, and the cloudy sides that I put my fingers on are front to back. And so I can slide that in position. Practice here for us to keep a log of the users. So you would simply write your name, the purpose, whether it's for research or a course, and the date. If you have no problems, that's enough. If there are issues or problems with the instrument, you would want to make notes of those in the logbook. I'm simply going to acknowledge this by OK, and that gets us into the main screen. Okay, once you acknowledge the startup, the window may look like this. If it doesn't quite look like this, what you want to make sure to run a spectrum is that you're on the spectrum. So that button should be pressed in, as it is here. And you'll see here there's the wavelength and absorbance scale. This is where our data will plot out. To set up the scan conditions, this icon that says M for method, you're going to click on that. This is where you can set the wavelength range, the scan speed, and the sampling interval. I'm going to set up a scan for 450 to 190 nanometers. So that start range, I'm going to start at 450. Nanometers, I'm going to leave the 190 as the end position. I'm going to leave the scan speed at medium, the sampling interval at 1 nanometer. Those are all reasonable settings for us right now. And then I simply say OK. And that's how you set up the conditions to do the scan. You've set up the method conditions for your scan. You can just click Start. So there's an icon down here, the little traffic light, Start acquisition. Click on that. Instrument will make some small amount of noise as it's scanning to the right wavelength. You can see actually our absorbance is very low at the moment, and it's tracking through the different wavelengths. And here's the spectrum. Absorbance on the y-axis, wavelength from 190 to 450 nanometers on the x-axis. It asks you if you want to save it, so you can give this a name and save your data. This data looks terrible, I'll point out, because it's way too concentrated. What we don't want to see are flat tops to the peaks. So this would be a sign that I need to dilute the sample, and probably significantly dilute the sample. If you follow the procedure, the samples that you're told to measure should not look like this. The peaks would have rounded tops. You wouldn't be clipping the top of them. That you have all the data that you need, and you should check with the TA and the instructor to make sure your data is appropriate. You've collected the absorbances at the wavelengths that you need them. You can shut the instrument down. From the software, we're just going to hit disconnect. And then we can exit the software. turning off the instrument. It is the reverse of turning it on, so the rocker switch again goes to the off position. Green light goes off, it beeps one more time. If you haven't already, you need to get the cuvettes out. Dispose of your sample. Leave the instrument in good shape for the next person to use it.